And welcome back to another episode of the Amazing City, episode 42, the Jackie Robinson episode, impossible to forget. We got a lot to talk about today. As always, it's your host, Antonio Slater and Jack Ramsey. No point in bearing the lead once again. Jacob deGrom's the GOAT.
I should probably try and keep that guy around.
Yeah, you should do what you can, guys. That was one of the most insane performances I've ever seen.
Can we talk for a second about how the Mets might have two top-tier sliders in Peterson's and deGrom's?
Well, I'm noticing a trend that if you have a slider, Jeremy Hefner is going to take it to the next level. Now, guys like Diaz and deGrom, you're elite as it is. But you get to the Jeremy Hefner lab and forget about it.
Well, we used to think that like Dan Warthen had the key to the slider.
Right.
And that guys would have plus sliders when they'd come in. I mean, fucking look at Addison Reed.
Right.
Reed's slider became a big weapon in that 15, 16, half 17.
Yeah.
But I mean, the pitching lab, man, I said it a little over a year ago. Agents, college players, prep players, JUCO players, whatever, they started to notice what was going on in St. Lucie.
Yeah.
And Mets, the stuff on the staff is playing up.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, Taijuan Walker.
Marcus Stroman was another one last year.
Marcus Stroman. I mean, to an extent, Carlos Carrasco.
Sure.
I mean, Diaz is having the best year of his career.
Yeah.
He's having the best year of any reliever in Mets history.
Yeah.
I said it after the 6-out save.
Mm-hmm.
You have to stop talking about Diaz having one of the best relief seasons in Mets history. You have to start talking about Diaz having one of the best seasons in Mets history. Full stop. Just end the sentence right there.
Yeah. Not just relievers.
John Heyman said it himself. Like, this dude's going to get Cy Young votes.
Yeah.
I mean, you think of who's going to finish top 5 in Cy Young voting in the National League. Scherzer might get there.
He might. He needs more innings, but he'll get there.
Alcantara will.
Gonsolin
will.
Yeah.
Tony Gonsolin probably will. You know, Kershaw's on the IL. And then even a bunch of guys who are having good to pretty good years.
Sure.
But not really top 3, 4, 5.
Max Fried will get there. Sure.
Max Fried will get there. Spencer Strider might, depending on how he rounds out, as long as he doesn't.
Well, the BABIP is a problem for him. So,
you know, if teams get lucky against him down the stretch, maybe not.
We'll talk about that. That's a different topic. But continue.
So it's just there are going to be a clear cut, probably 1 and 2 in Gonsolin, Alcantara. You know, Fried, maybe Wheeler, Urias, Burns. You know, there's 10 guys or 11 guys with ERAs at 3 or below in the National League right now.
Okay.
But I was looking at it yesterday. I have qualified starters. Granted, this doesn't include a guy like Scherzer because of the innings.
Right.
Qualified starters. Only 24 starters have a better F4 than Edwin Diaz. That is less mathematically. There aren't even enough starters in baseball having a better year than Edwin Diaz to put one on every team.
Yeah, dude. We put it that way. That's pretty wild, man.
That's nuts.
That's pretty bonkers.
I saw the old Tim Healy tweet last night from 2020 of, you know, if the Mets ever get to a point where you're on a postseason push and late in the season and Edwin Diaz is elite, that entrance music and that entrance is gonna. I mean, Pat McAfee was saying is the king of stuff like this. Pat McAfee, this dude ate a stone cold stunner after wrestling Vince McMahon at WrestleMania. Like, this dude lives for stuff like this. He gets a pop like a wrestler.
Yeah. I
mean, coming in from the bullpen, it's like watching a dude at WrestleMania. You're like watching someone come into the Royal Rumble.
His entrance makes 50-year-old men forget they're 50-year-old men. And I'm sure you've seen the clips of the old guy probably with his grandson just bouncing around, waving the towel.
Or the dude yesterday who had the visor on backwards. He's totally bald, got the goatee. I mean,
oh my God.
Can we talk for a second about that shot from SNY? Beginning, like, they just go full in on stadium noise when deGrom's warming up.
And then the guy crying. I get it.
It's starting.
I don't get it, but I get it. Yeah.
It's starting to sit in. It's starting to settle in. The Mets are going to the playoffs.
Something catastrophic would need to happen.
The Mets would need to have like 5 or 6 dudes have either Beltran and Maiden moments or Duan or Sanchez moments.
Right.
You would need like 3 cab drivers and a 3-way collision in right field that
Right.
takes out Alonso, McNeil, Marte.
Right.
And you need Frankie Lindor to like get arrested for petty theft. And you need deGrom to explode and Scherzer to get kidnapped by Venezuelans or something. Like
get bit by his dog again.
Well, was that the Wilson Ramos story?
Something
He's
like
Venezuelan,
that.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in case you can't tell, I'm pulling out all the old crazy Mets stuff.
I mean,
you would need something, and even then, you would probably need more than that.
Fangraphs right now has the Mets at 100% to make the postseason, which I don't quite understand. How are you 100% until you clinch? But like, teams like the Mets and Dodgers are as sure things as anything.
I mean,
in the National League.
No, absolutely. I mean, there's 4 teams right now: Mets, Dodgers, Yankees, Astros.
Right.
I mean, you want to put the Padres in that conversation because it's hard to add Hader, Bell, and Soto and not be in that talk. But they got pants this weekend.
They've lost 4 out of 6.
They just got pantsed by the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Not pretty.
You have guys like 180 hitting Cody Bellinger, hitting 4 tanks in the series. Listen, say what you want about Cody Bellinger. The guy's been awful, but
that man knows when to come through.
Yeah, the guy wakes up for the big moments, which is why if they DFA him or non-tender him in the offseason, I take a flyer on him.
And if you're
would you rather have Cody Bellinger or Dom Smith? The answer's easy.
Well, and I think we touched on that in the winter.
Right.
If a guy like Bellinger, this is like before they got Marte and before they got Cano, if a guy like Bellinger becomes available, you go after him.
Yeah.
But when you're a team like the Dodgers, where your 3-way platoon kind of for second base is Mookie Betts, Chris Taylor, Gavin Lux, you can have a dude who hits 180 come off the bench and hit go ahead 495-foot tanks in the bottom of the 8th.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have that. I mean, you can argue they probably should have upgraded over Craig Kimbrell.
They seem content.
But when you're putting up, I don't think they had to go to Kimbrell against the Padres.
They went to him for yesterday. Just seemed like
he went in
some
yesterday.
Work in. It was a 4-run lead though.
Like a 5-1 win, 4-0 win, something like that. Like their biggest weak spot, they barely touch because they don't have to.
That's why they're okay with keeping Kimbrell in there.
They're still the best team in baseball. The Yankees are coming down to earth. The Yankees are coming down to earth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Mancini's been great in Houston. Framber Valdez is probably going to be top 3 in Cy Young voting.
Right. Verlander might win.
Him, Verlander, and Cease.
McClanahan.
The injury might set him back innings wise. Because all those 3 guys are all going to get a full season's worth of work, barring an injury. Knock on wood. But to my point, the Mets are when you look at the odds, you look at records. Those top 4 buys are basically set.
Right.
And the Mets are one of them. Mark DeRosa said it on MLB Network this morning. It's hard you can make a case for the Mets being the World Series favorite. Because you look at these teams, this is probably the best one. If deGrom and Scherzer stay healthy, again, if deGrom and Scherzer stay healthy, this is probably the best 1-2 punch a team has had going into the playoffs since Kershaw Greinke with the Dodgers. And if not,
might be better.
Probably Johnson Schilling.
Right.
This is probably the best 1-2 punch going to the playoffs in over 20 years. Scherzer's an ERA under 1. deGrom just threw 16 consecutive sliders without contact. It's insane.
How do you have a 0% contact rate?
Well, and then you factor in your third game is either being started by Chris Bassett, Carlos Carrasco, Taijuan Walker. Shit, David Peterson just shoved again. David Peterson hit 99.
He hit.
No one's talking about it.
Like him hitting 99.
That's the biggest thing that happened in that 5-game series.
Honestly, though, this is a guy that his entire career set like 93. Occasionally would touch 95.
He's a 92, 94 guy who touches 95, 96.
Homie hit 99 against Matt Olson in the first inning. The dude has been nails against the Braves this year. I know he took the loss in the one game, the other, what was it, 2 weeks ago in Atlanta, but that wasn't because of him. The guy went 7 innings and 2 runs that day. The Mets just couldn't score. Ran to Strider having a 13 strikeout game. What are you going to do? Yeah, like him randomly hitting 99 is incredible. Him hitting 99 was far more surprising than deGrom hitting 102. You just marvel at deGrom. And now for the sixth inning, I put the blame on two people for the walk and the home run. One, me, for calling this one of the most incredible performances I've ever seen. And two, my coworker next to me. What?
No. CB Buckner?
No, well. And then my coworker next to me, who after the fifth inning was just, whoa, deGrom has a perfect game. What are you doing, guy? That's bad job on your part. That's a bad job.
I was listening. I was at work and I had Howie and Wayne on. They're talking about how Spencer Strider used to have to take medication as a teenager for a high heart rate. And as out of pocket as this is, Howie just goes, well, with the way CB Buckner is calling the play, you might want to get back on those meds. I had to stop and take a second.
Wow.
But I mean, I think all you could really ask for out of that series. I mean, obviously, not only they won 4 or 5. Yeah, maybe you wanted to win all 5. Get a little greedy. But even then, that game they hung in it. They hung in it. They made it close.
Like if you take away the first two, and I know this is the whole like, oh, you can't just take away the first 2 innings. The Mets sweep that series because it was 8-0 before you blinked. And then the Mets came back, made it interesting, and they had the Braves use all their top guys. Thank God for Trevor Williams. You want to talk about takeaways from this series. Trevor Williams not only saved the series, saved the weekend, but saved the next couple of weeks because now we have a rested bullpen moving forward. If Trevor Williams could only go an inning or 2 innings, oh, man, were the Mets screwed. But that was incredible by him. Taijuan Walker, he shot the bed. He didn't complain about BABIP. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm hoping that you hope Snicker calls Strider into his office later or after that and tells him that is not what you say. You know, you are going toe-to-toe with the best pitcher in baseball. You have the worst outing of your big league career and you blame luck and BABIP.
Listen, if you throw 80
you want
pitches
to have a better innings, you want to have a better game, don't let Brandon Nimmo take you 10 pitches in the first at bat. You don't want the lucky hits to count. Don't have men on base in front of them. Don't be putting dudes on the Don't be putting dudes on the base paths in front of Pete Alonso.
What are we doing?
That should be rule of thumb number 1 when you face the Mets. Don't let guys get on in front of Alonso.
And let's talk about his double real quick. Let's just say it doesn't hit the bag. Riley makes a play. You're getting at most 1 out there. So a run is still scoring. Lindor's still at second. Who's to say Vogelbach's not going to hit a fucking tank? Clean it up. Like, what are we doing? You're a grown-ass man. You have this stupid mustache to make you like your image or whatever.
He's got a fat ass.
He's got a dump truck, but whatever. And then you're going to go on air and cry post-game about a team's BABIP? Get the hell out of here. What are we doing? What are we doing? But whatever, man.
I mean, I think you just hope that that's immaturity and not being in a spot like that before. And
we put out the stat. For all the Braves fans crying about the Mets' luck and the hard hit balls and blah, 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 blah. Throughout the 5-game series, the Mets had more hard hit balls throughout the entire season than the Braves. 52-39. Where's the luck there? If you have 13 more hard hit balls throughout a 5-game set, that's not lucky. It's putting the ball in play. It's not striking out 19 times. 19 times.
Yeah. No, I mean, I completely agree.
No, hit a slider. The Mets are good. Deal with it. Austin Riley. Are you still coming for the Mets? I don't know. I think Brandon Nimmo put it great. Winning 4 out of 5 and putting up a 6.5 game lead at this point in the season. It makes it tough for the Braves to gain ground on the Mets by beating the Mets. Especially because after these next couple series, as we said before, it's when the Mets can really get fat. You have a lot of weaker opponents. You're facing the Colorados, the Cincinnatis, the Pittsburghs of the world.
I'll just come out and say if they go into If they go into September with a lead, they'll win the division. No, it's not a hugely hot take.
Right.
But with a team that was just 2.5 behind you, like within a couple weeks was a half game behind you.
It was a half game.
All you have to do is go into September with a lead in the division's yours. I mean, the only games above 500 they have in that month, I think, are Milwaukee and
Atlanta.
Now that Atlanta series is, I think, the last series of the year.
Right.
Or second to last.
Sounds about right.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I'll pull it up right now.
Yeah.
But all you really have to do is just get through August with the lead.
Just take care of business.
I mean, if you get through this stretch of Dodgers, Phillies, Yankees, Braves, in whatever order, if you get through that 500, take 2 out of 3 from Atlanta, you win the division.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be very, very hard. Well, no, that's not what I want to see. If you're the Mets, you want to be in a spot where your fate is in your own hands. You're controlling your own destiny.
Absolutely.
Just get yourself going into September controlling your own destiny. I mean, between Friday the 12th and Tuesday the 23rd, they go 3 with Philly at home, 4 with the Braves, 4 in Philly, 2 in the Bronx. Then after that, they welcome in Colorado. They go to the Dodgers. From September 2nd to September 18th, they go Nats, Pirates, Marlins, Cubs, 4 with the Pirates. 3 with the Brewers, then they go A's, Marlins, then the Braves and the Marlins to end the season. Sorry, Braves and the Nationals. I mean, I don't even think the Nationals are in a spot where you can look at them and go, hey, they might play spoiler. I don't know who.
Ask Philly how spoiler they were.
I don't know who on that roster is playing spoiler.
Getting spoiled by Lane Thomas.
Luke Voigt.
Luke Voigt.
Yadiel Hernandez.
I mean, listen. Once again, just keep doing what you've been doing the entire year. Play your game. Win the series. If you continue to win the series like you have, once again, the entire season, just keep taking care of business, man. You took care of the 5-game set. This was the biggest test. And that's what you had to do. Every single time. We say it all the time. They come up with a new test. There's a new task. It's the Dodgers. It's the Yankees. It's the 5-game set. They pass with flying colors. Unless it's facing the freaking San Diego Padres. This team has handled each and every task that's come their way.
I was thinking about it the other day. Like the first test of the year was that Philly series.
Right.
Just see where it looks like you stand up.
Right.
Just see where it looks like you match up, and they handled it well. Mm-hmm. They probably should have swept that series.
Probably
in April. I still think about it sometimes. Then you get to the Giants series. All right, well, you're at home. See how McGill does against a team that just won 100 games. Then you get to the Cardinals. All right, you handle the Cardinals. You get to the Dodgers. You get down 0-2 in that series, but you still split, and that's a pretty big win. Then from there, you fatten up a little bit, take care of the Phillies a couple times, and you get to the Braves. Took care of the Braves in Atlanta. They get to the Padres and the Yankees. Overall, did 3-2 in those 5 games.
Yep. You got swept by Houston, but I mean, what are you gonna
do? Houston just owns New York sports.
It's just.
But then you get to the Braves. We go into that series. The Braves are 3.5 out. In my head, I'm realistically like, just get through the series in first place.
Yeah.
Do not lose 4 out of 5 at home.
Right.
3 out of 2. You figured you lose a doubleheader game. It seems like the Mets are kings of splitting doubleheaders.
Yeah.
Figured you lose a doubleheader. You didn't know what the deGrom pitch count would be. You thought, and matching up with Strider, you thought maybe if Strider doesn't shit the bed, he goes 6 or 7, holds you intact. The Mets bullpen falters before Strider's even out of the game.
Right.
The who-das and the whatnots. But you take care of 4 out of 5. They are currently 70-34, 70-39. So with today's game, you're 110 in.
Right.
You have 53 games left.
Right.
Win 30, and you win the division. If you go 30 and 23 down the stretch, if you go 30 and 23 down the stretch, you win the division.
And for a team that's already 31 games over 500, I don't think that's unattainable.
It's probably not.
Especially given the quality of the opponents.
The 2006 Mets were 97-65. Yes, 97-65. So they finished that year 32 games over 500. And that was their high water mark of the year because they won 4 in a row to end the year.
So hold on. They were what was their record?
97-65.
So the rest of the way, the Mets would have to go.
They'd have to play 1 game over 500 the rest of the way.
They'd have to go, yeah.
I mean, I saw if the Mets play 396 baseball down the stretch, they still win 97 games.
What? That's incredible.
It is. It's nuts.
It feels good to be in this spot. It really does. It really does. To have a team be this far out in the season, be on pace for 105 wins at this point.
Yeah.
Man.
I mean, looking at it right now, Francisco Lindor is on pace to put up a 7.0 F4.
Pretty solid.
Brandon Nimmo on pace for a 5.3. Let's see if I can sort this by team. I can. Ha ha ha. I love Fangraphs. Because, I mean, we talk about, how great everyone's been, the contributions you're getting. Daniel Vogelback is on pace to put up a 1.6 F4 over 2.5 months with the Mets.
The Mets are 12-2 since acquiring Vogelback. That's
Francisco Lindor is on pace to put up a 7.0, Nimmo at 5.3, Alonso a 5, McNeil a 4.7, Marte a 3.3. If you have 5 guys putting up an F4 in your lineup, putting up an F4 of 3 or better, you're in a good spot.
You're in a good spot.
Because, I mean, you have 5 guys considerably better than league average.
Right.
And those 5 guys are your only 5 everyday guys. Everyone else is in a platoon. I mean, I love this stat. WRC plus, weighted runs created plus 100, league average.
Mm-hmm.
Alonso's on pace to finish, or I think these are all what they have right now. Mets, the guys who have a 100 or better for the Mets, so who are league average or better. Ruff is a 104. Guillorme is a 110. Naquin's a 111. Canna's a 118. Nimmo 128. Vogelback 128. Marte 130. Lindor 131. McNeil 131. Alonso 153. Those are what these guys are on pace to finish the year with. Lindor will probably beat that because he's been the second coming of Christ himself since his finger healed.
Someone put it, I forgot who it was.
Might have been me.
If it wasn't for the freaking door, he might be an MVP candidate.
He might.
Before that, he was on a 35, 120 pace. He broke his finger from a fucking door, cooled off a little bit.
About 25, 30 games of
2021 Lindor. And now, ever since then, he's hitting 340? I mean, his July 1st or whatever it is.
His career average is 277. Right now, he's got a 270. His career average OPS is 819. Right now, he's got an 807. Last 30 games, he's hitting 333, 400, 575. You want to go even beyond that? OPS. His last 15 games, 429, 500, 679. He is 24 for his last 56.
And once again, playing elite defense. He makes every play.
But it's a terrible contract.
The worst contract in baseball.
Just awful scenes, man. Tough scenes.
Scenes are so tough. Toughest scenes in the world right now, guy.
So you handle the Braves. You take care of business.
Hopefully, starting today, you do what you should with the Cincinnati Reds.
I was talking to my dad about this earlier.
Former Justin Dunn making his first appearance in 15 years.
Well, this is a football phrase more than anything else. Giants might not be used to this phrase. You have to be good to have this phrase applied to you. The trap game.
It is it's a trap.
This is a trap series.
This is a trap series if I've ever seen one.
We might look up at 9:15 tonight, and Justin Dunn's got 7 innings of run baseball under his belt.
It's pumped. If Justin Dunn goes 7 shutout innings, I'll eat a sock.
Well, this feels like the series where you try and stay away from like Lugo, Ottavino, Diaz, give Alonso a day, give Lindor a day, give Marte and Nimmo a day or two.
Right.
Feels like a heavy Tyler Naquin series. Feels like a heavy
That's
like a
team, so probably
Donis Medina,
Medina's definitely getting
Joely Rodriguez. I mean, even starter wise, you don't have Scherzer or deGrom lined up for the series.
right.
This is a heavy. You cannot. You trust Buck to take care of this. You can't lose focus in the series.
No.
This is the the Broncos had a brutal one not a couple years ago, a handful of years ago. They just got pantsed by someone in the middle of playing the Chiefs and the Raiders.
Right.
I mean, you can't lose focus over these 3 games. You want to get guys rest because you have another brutal stretch coming up and you don't have any off days. I think you have 1 off day in this upcoming stretch of pretty good teams.
Honestly, this might be a little bit. I'm fine with the off days because it seems like as these guys play every day, they get better because it keeps
I would
them
just
in
be
that
wary
rhythm.
with Marte.
That for sure. Like the guys that are still a little banged up, the Martes, the Nimmos. I'm sure all the guys are dealing with some stuff, but McCann.
It's August. They're all banged up.
They're all banged, exactly. But like guys like Pete, Lindor, Escobar is getting a little hot right now. Naquin, Vogel, these guys, I don't want to take them out of the lineup, especially Lindor because he is so freaking on fire right now. He's such in a groove. I don't want to give him a day off. Do what you did with Pete the other day in the doubleheader. Make him the DH. Just get him off his feet.
But you got these 3 games, a day off. Then you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 games before your next day off in 12 days.
All right.
I mean, I'm sure at some point, I don't know how they'd work it. I wonder if you maybe get Dom up to get him just to eat up some.
Have him be the 27th man.
Yeah, or something like that. Maybe you send Medina back down, call up Peterson. I don't know. You feel like you'd hope they have a plan for Peterson in September. You think maybe that might be getting him to be
roster. He'll be the 20th. He could be because it goes 28 guys, correct?
Yeah.
So you call up Peterson, you call up Dom.
But you hope they have like a concrete plan for him of how they're going to use him, not just all right, yeah, so and so got scratched, let's throw him in there.
Right.
Maybe it's a multi-inning lefty.
He's not a high leverage reliever.
I think
I'm sure
he could be. If that's your plan for him in September, it could be. But it's not something you want him learning on the fly against the Yankees in a 1-run game.
Yeah.
If anything, when he's down, since he just got optioned to Syracuse again, when he's down there, you have him start coming out of the pen.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe instead of he makes a second doubleheader start, you give it to Williams to give you 4 innings. And then you go straight to Peterson after that.
I'm just curious because I know
McGill you got to have a plan for him.
You got to have down from McGill because I think Medina has shown.
You still have Medina. And
Medina shown that he deserves to be on the roster.
Sure. I mean, if you're asking me McGill or Medina, it's McGill without a question. Yeah. The only other guy on the roster with options, or in the pen with options, is Lugo. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
I mean, let's see. They demoted Lopez. That's how Medina got back up.
Right. Because Peterson and Lopez were both sent down.
Yeah, because Peterson was the 27th guy. Or something like that.
Right.
Let's see. On your active roster, you got Williams, Rodriguez, Ottavino, Medina, May, Lugo, Givens, Diaz. I mean, no, you probably by September. You figure McGill comes back, takes Medina's spot.
Right.
Your 28th man. You got to factor in Drew Smith.
I think he's done for the year.
He might be. He might not be. I don't think. I think if I don't know what their plan for Tommy Hunter is.
Mm-hmm.
He's looked good-ish.
Right.
I think if it comes down to, all right, we're either throwing Peterson in the pen or we're keeping Tommy Hunter. Tommy, it's a business. You got to let you go.
Yeah.
So you assume I figure in the short term, because they said Hunter will probably come off the IL the second he's able to.
Right.
Because it's load management for his back, effectively. So he comes back. You send Medina back down. I don't think McGill will be back till probably early September. I think if anything, timing wise, you just wait till early September.
Right.
So you don't have to send someone down. So you probably call up Peterson and McGill. Throw them both in the pen. Or maybe leading up to October, maybe you get some spot starts in there. Give some guys some extra days. Maybe even a guy like Bassett, who does not have a track record of a huge workload.
Right.
You don't think Scherzer would need it. You don't. deGrom might need one. deGrom might need an extra. Might need to be spelled to start here. There. You just don't know.
Pretty
you just don't
heavily.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just don't know.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see deGrom throw 100 pitches in a start this season.
No, they probably cap him 95 most all his starts.
Right.
Run him. Maybe his last start of the year they let him go 100, 105.
But like,
just so he's not, his first game going into the hundreds isn't in the playoffs.
And I know we've talked about this before, but the Mets have a lot of priorities in the offseason in terms of re-signing guys. From what you've seen, I know it's only the 2 starts. deGrom has to be priority number 1. I don't care what the number is.
I mean, I'm gonna disagree.
You're making Edwin priority number 1?
I think it's got to be Diaz, because I just think from a roster standpoint, I mean, you look at him, you just think deGrom is gone. Hearing what you hear, knowing the injuries, and the ESPN report that the Braves would be seen as a serious contender for him. Whatever. I've definitely heard some stuff too that I can't necessarily repeat that would kind of back that up.
Sure.
But I think if you let Jacob deGrom walk, it's not like Max Scherzer is going anywhere. I think deGrom Scherzer is a luxury.
Oh, yeah.
Edwin Diaz right now is not a luxury. He's a necessity.
Yeah.
And especially when you look at Ottavino's a pending free agent, May's a pending free agent, Lugo's a pending free agent, Hunter's a pending free agent, Givens is a pending free agent.
Mm-hmm.
You hope maybe you can bring May back. You got Smith, and the Go 6 looked good. You have some guys who are going to be able to come up. Who knows? Maybe McGill's like, no, like, just keep me in the pen.
Yeah.
I mean, because, Cookie has his team option. I think it's a vesting option, but it's relatively cheap. Scherzer's under contract. Peterson's looked great. I think it's a vesting option or a mutual option for Bassett. I mean, if you run out next year and your 1 through 5 is Scherzer, Bassett, Carrasco, Peterson, I'm forgetting someone.
But Walker's also a free agent.
He's got an option, but I think it's a player option.
So he'll decline that.
Probably. Well, he keeps getting his tits lit.
He'll decline it.
But, I think the Mets are just in a better – the pitching's in a precarious spot. I think you have guys in the minor leagues relief-wise. I mean, I think Nagosic is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to have a chance to make an impact in the Major League pen, but you just don't have guys under contract. Joely Rodriguez, 6 of your 8 guys in the bullpen right now are pending free agents.
Right.
You're going to have to bring some of them back, obviously.
Right.
You don't let all 6, but Diaz has to be priority 1.
Yeah. Out of the bullpen, he's by far. Absolutely.
I think you got to get Nimmo back. You got to get Diaz back.
But if you're looking at the top 3 of deGrom, Nimmo, Diaz, I feel like you have to try to get 2 of those back. And I feel, and this is me, and you might disagree with it just based on what you're saying, I feel like the odd man out there might be Brandon Nimmo.
It's deGrom.
Man,
because here's what I know is deGrom wants Scherzer money.
Great.
The New York Mets are not going to give Jacob deGrom Scherzer money.
I'd give it to him. I know
because the Mets have seen deGrom will end up throwing less than a year's worth of games over a 2-year span.
And I understand, but
you also you're going to have to if you have to look at this from the financial standpoint of within a couple of years. Right now, you have to extend them.
Okay.
You got to lock down Alonso. You got to lock down McNeil.
Sure.
You're not going to be able to move McCann's contract for another year.
Right.
at some point you're going to have to try and extend either Carrasco, Bassett, someone.
Right.
Within that a short time, you're going to have Alvarez and Beatty hitting arbitration.
Right.
And if these guys pan out, that's going to be a big arbitration number off the bat for Alvarez.
But that's not going to be for another.
If you are going to
like 4 years.
Right, but still, you're not just signing Pete Alonso for 3 years.
Well, no. You're
From a financial
5-6 years for him.
It just doesn't make financial sense to give Jacob deGrom, Max Scherzer money, because you have to be able to bring Nimmo back. And you think it might be a little cheaper now that he's having, I don't want to say a down year.
He's cooling off a little bit. That's it.
He's not putting up an 800 OPS. He's not producing the power we expect. He's still having a good year.
Right.
But he's not been, coming into the year, there was a good chance. There was a good case to make. Brandon Nimmo is the best offensive player on the Mets.
There was a very good case for it.
But it's not the case anymore. He's now probably third or fourth.
Right.
Alonso and Lindor, clear cut ahead of him. It's a debate between him and McNeil.
Marte as well.
Marte too. I mean, he might be the fourth or fifth best offensive player on this team, but you have to keep him.
Right.
You have to keep him. And I think you have to keep Diaz. I think if you let
you have to keep Diaz.
I think if you let deGrom walk, it's not that you're not in a bad shape, but they were a 620 ball club before he came back.
Mm-hmm.
In no way is Jacob deGrom dispensable.
He's also not replaceable.
And he's not replaceable.
It makes it easier because you have Max Scherzer for at least one more year.
But if you're looking at the state of the team, if you replace Edwin Diaz with someone league average, this team's not doing what it's doing.
No.
If you replace Brandon Nimmo with like another Mark Canha or someone below a Starling Marte, this team's not doing what it's doing.
Right.
One of the biggest keys to the Mets' success this year has been their ability to set the table for Lindor and Alonso.
Absolutely.
And that begins and ends with Nimmo and Marte.
Yeah.
And if you just let Nimmo walk out the door, you have to think of the sustainable success. I think if 3 years ago we're looking at the Dodgers, we're screaming, how do you not lock down Seager?
Yeah.
What are you doing? And you look at him last year. They let Seager walk out the door. They let Scherzer walk out the door. They let Kenley walk out the door. They almost lost Taylor to the Mariners.
Yeah.
They lost 3 of their top 4 free agents and arguably their best 3. They are 40 games over 500.
And that's with getting
just stepping up left and right.
That's with getting 0 production from Max Muncy for the most part, 0 production from Justin Turner.
Cody Bellinger has not turned it around.
Craig Kimbrell has been awful.
They are 40 games over 500. Because you know what? You lose Clayton Kershaw maybe for the year, but fucking Tony Gonsolin,
Juan Soto, Josh Bell, Brandon Drury, and Josh Hader, and they said
and they just got pantsed. And they just got pantsed. Because you have these, Scherzer leaves. Tony Gonsolin's going to finish top 3 in Cy Young voting.
Unbelievable. Walker Buehler and Dustin May have barely done anything. Dustin May hasn't thrown a pitch in a year.
No,
Walker Buehler before he got
been
hurt
out since May.
Right. Walker Buehler has been awful before he got hurt.
Is he back?
No, he's still rehabbing. There's still no timetable for
May's maybe a step or 2 away, or a start or 2 away.
Yeah,
that's just making his first start of the year.
The report that I saw last was he needs 2 more rehab starts.
Yeah, I think I saw like 1 or 2 after the last one he just made.
So
they are 40 games over 500.
This is a team that's 40 games over, and they're going to get Kershaw, Buehler, and May all back in September.
The way you have to work when you want to be like the Dodgers is you got to know when to let guys walk.
Right.
Zach Greinke in 2015 put up one of the best single season pitching performances we've seen in the 21st century.
Right.
And he walks.
Right.
And they just magically replace him and everything's fine.
So now let me ask you a question. Hypothetical. deGrom walks. Do the Mets retire his number?
I think if they win a ring, yes.
Okay.
I think if they don't, he just has the greatest multi-season stretch a bad team has ever had.
Yeah.
I think it's really the best way you can put it. I think it's the best. I mean, it's just he just made his 200th career start. I mean, that's 5 or 6 seasons that's 6 full seasons of workload. And he's going into his 7th. This is his 7th or 8th year.
And it's one of the best 200 start spans
It's probably it's the best 200. It's the best 200 start beginning to a career that baseball's ever seen.
The most strikeouts in the first 200 starts. Second lowest ERA, only to Tom Seaver.
It's the greatest 200 start. It's the greatest first 200 start span baseball's ever seen.
No fan base deserves it, Jacob deGrom. So freaking good. Oh man, it made a guy cry. It made a grown man cry when we walked out. I've had Simple Man stuck in my head all day.
I was blasting at the gym,
and I'll be doing it later.
But I think the Mets rotation is in a better spot post deGrom than the bullpen would be post Diaz, or than the offense would be post Nimmo.
Yeah,
because Nimmo, they're playing Royals ball right now, getting on base, putting the ball in play, finding the holes.
And you know what?
And then hitting the bomb when they need to.
It worked in 15 for the Royals, and right now it's working in 22 for the Mets.
You shut down bullpen. You get guys on base, and you have the guys necessary to bring them in. And solid starting pitching. You don't need to hit. I think it's the biggest difference you're going to see between the Braves and the Mets. When the Braves are off, home run or die works. It definitely works in today's game. You find teams that
100%.
make it work. The Braves make it work, but when you have those games where it's not working, you're getting overmatched, you're not doing anything.
And you're striking out 19 times?
You're simply not doing anything.
Yeah.
And that's what we saw with Atlanta yesterday. They had a game where home run or die didn't work, and they got it shoved up their ass. And that's going to happen when you get overpowering pitching.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think Diaz, back to the original point, I think Diaz is the must resign. Then I think you pick between deGrom and Nimmo. I think Nimmo makes more sense. He'll be cheaper. You'll be able to sign him longer, more reliable. And deGrom's the best pitcher in baseball. Right. I think you also,
he's going to have a market.
You just don't know how much longer that arm has in it.
Right.
I think Nimmo's a safer bet. deGrom's a better player. Nimmo's a safer bet. Diaz is Diaz. He's the best closer in baseball and has been for like a year and a half now.
Yeah. Ever since he switched to Narco, there's a straight line correlation right there. Switch to Narco, best reliever in baseball. That's it.
No, I mean,
the Venn diagram is just one circle.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
You put Narco with the Jeremy Hefner pitching lab, forget it.
I just wish Mets fans would like jump up and down to the beat of it like they do at Duke basketball games. But I can get behind the claps. The fake trumpets, some people make it look a little like you're doing something you got to go to church to repent for.
Little phallic.
Little risque.
Yeah. But we have more to talk about besides the Mets and the Braves series. I know it was a week and a half ago at this point, but we still need to talk about the trade deadline.
The guys they brought in.
Listen, they've been great. Vogelbach is fantastic. He's already a fan favorite. Needs to be a Met for life. Naquin's been awesome. Darren Ruff isn't JD Davis, so he's already an improvement. Michael Givens is a person who exists and has a right arm that throws a baseball. But I feel underwhelmed coming out of it. You had these guys available. Wilson Contreras didn't even get traded. Some other guys didn't get traded. David Robertson was traded for – Chafin wasn't traded. David Robertson was traded for a bad farm system's 27th prospect. And Jake Diekman, who's done very well for Chicago so far, got traded for a guy that needs to announce his presence in every room that he walks in because he's a sex offender. Also a backup catcher. How are we not walking away with another reliever? Another bat?
The ask on Chafin was high. I think that's in part due to the option for next year.
I understand that.
But no, I mean, it comes down to, and again, I'll harp on this point again that it ties into this too, what we just talked about, is you're trying to build a sustainable winner.
Right.
And part of that is keeping the guys you have in place. I thought they gave up a lot for Ruff.
Give a lot for Ruff.
Immediately the thought was, okay, well, there's probably a reliever here. Maybe you're getting Jarlin Garcia in this.
Right.
Stuff like that. But it just
I thought with the Ruff deal, it was either they're working on the name for the reliever they're getting in return, or they're trying to find a third team in place.
Or it's possible I think it's possible that the value on JD Davis was so low that you needed to attach something to get him out.
Probably. I do think it's funny, though, that the San Francisco Giants saw what they did to Thomas Sapucki and said, you know what? We need that guy.
Man, I've been
It's
saying
just
it
funny.
I've been saying it for months.
I know,
We're gonna look up
lefty
in
and his
3
curveball, his
years.
reliever, blah, blah,
He's gonna
blah.
be he's gonna be a high strikeout, fastball, curveball, multiple inning lefty. We're gonna be like, what the fuck? Where was this in New York? And I'm gonna be like, well, I try to tell you.
I get it. But it's just so funny that he had like a 3,000 ERA that one game against the Giants, and they said we need this guy for Darren Ruff.
What was it? 8 runs in an inning?
Something awful.
It was brutal.
It was so bad. It was so bad.
Yeah, it was brutal. But I think they give up a lot. You know, I liked Saul Gonzalez, but that's what you got to give up for Michael Givens. So be it.
Right.
You know, Vogelbach has already put up better he's already been more. Vogelbach has already been of better value to the Mets already.
Right.
It's been not even 50 at-bats, 50 plate appearances, not even. He's already produced more value to the Mets than Holderman would have done down the stretch.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. Smith got hurt right after the deal. Epler said the reliever market was robust, and
that's a rough look.
Right, and you got your first reliever of the deadline at like 4:55. What was the deadline? Was 6?
Yeah,
5. Yeah, I think it was 6. So you got your first reliever at 5:55. But I think the biggest takeaway for me is they clearly did not want to overspend because you are focusing on building a sustainable winner. The value on Ronnie Mauricio is as low as it's ever been.
Right.
Ronnie has not made too many improvements the last 2 years.
Career high in home runs this year, though, already.
But that's not
that's nice. But
improve on. That's not what you need him to work on the eye.
But he also has a 285 on base percentage this year,
and he hasn't worked on it.
Right.
You're happy that the Mets didn't think that this was some just hot streak for Ramirez. Let's sell high on him. The ask on Contreras was a lot. You probably would have had to move in Alex Ramirez for a Contreras.
And listen, I'm all for not wanting to trade Ramirez or maybe I guess even if Vientos for a rental, but where are you playing Vientos now? The whole thing was you're not going to trade Vientos during the deadline. You're going to call him up, but you traded for 75 DHs, and Mark Vientos does not have a position.
I'm not sure if Vientos was ever really in the. It seemed like he might.
What did you do?
I just knocked the dish soap into the sink. It seemed like
that's a good place for it to be.
I mean, yeah, could have gone worse places.
Nah.
Could have put worse things in the sink.
That's a great point.
It seemed like the plan was call up Vientos if you don't move him, but there's a lot of ups and downs with that bat. He's a guy who gets on insane cold streaks and insane hot streaks. I think you just want to fine tune that and even it out a bit, or find more consistency. Not even it out, just find the more consistency.
Yeah.
But I can also see the standpoint of this is going to be a 100-win baseball team at this rate, who is going to go into the National League playoffs with a bye.
Right.
That's a lot of pressure on a rookie. It's not like the 2015 Mets where they were meddling around 500 when they called up Conforto. He just happened to get red hot right away and held them down the stretch with Cespedes, Duda, and Murphy and Darno all playing out of their minds.
Right.
This is more so you are looking for the finishing pieces to a World Series contender. Do you want to go with the guy who was just on a 100-win team last year and has played on contenders before?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you want to call up the kid? And they opted for the contender, for the guy who's been on a contender.
I mean, listen, so far,
Ruff has years of control. Darren Ruff could also retire after this year.
Yeah.
He's 36. If the Mets win a ring, Darren Ruff might just call it a career.
He might just, yeah.
If you're 36, you finally got your ring, go home and be a dad.
Hasta la pasta. Yeah.
Go home and be a husband. Go start that real estate agency that former baseball players seem to always start.
We'll be a car salesman. Everyone. That's always what it is. You retire and you got a car dealership. Mike Piazza has one.
Mike Piazza owns an Italian soccer team.
He sure did, and they did pretty well. And then he left.
But it's interesting. Obviously, I still have a long-term plan for him. Brett Beatty was just promoted to Syracuse today. He joins Lee, Plummer, Vientos, Alvarez. There's a lot of guys on the doorstep.
It's a fun lineup, dude. That's a fun lineup.
There are, well, not to remind me. Let's see if I missed any texts. There are a lot of guys on the doorstep. And I think,
and as we see these guys getting moved up, the newer wave is also moving in. Kevin Parada, Jet Williams, Blake Tidwell. It's a strong class.
Is this your segue for me?
It sure is. I think it was Baseball America had the Mets as the 5th best farm system in baseball. Oh, ESPN. Okay, so
that was McDaniels and Passan. To be fair, McDaniel and Passan are two. That's probably the best 1-2 in baseball reporting.
That's not quite deGrom Scherzer, but that's pretty damn good of a 1-2.
Yeah, the baseball media world, that might be deGrom Scherzer.
Listen, that's pretty strong. It's pretty strong.
But
so you take that, and that's all right. Top 5 system, man.
I mean, Parada's cracking a lot of every revised top 100 I've seen. Parada's been in the 50ish range, 53 by Baseball America today. Keith Law, I think, either had him low 40s, high 50s. He'll crack the pipeline in the same area.
And once they update their next one.
Yeah, exactly. Jet Williams might push some of the back end ones. I mean, I know Fangraphs usually does a top 121.
Yeah.
So I think you might get Jet Williams in the 100 to 120 range. Made his pro debut today. I reported this morning he was making his debut. He was in the DH spot, hitting 5th for the FCL Mets today. That's the Florida Complex League. Pulling up those games aren't streamed, so you're just kind of following the box score. Let's see, 25 and 18 FCL Mets.
While you're looking at it,
I got it right here. He's 0 for 2 with a walk and a strikeout.
He took a walk.
First at bat, he walked.
Yeah,
already better than Mauricio. But
you're looking at this, and you have to look back at what Steve Cohen first said. He wants to win now and in the future. If everything pans out, Jet Williams has insane potential. Absolutely.
I mean, the Altuve comparisons are legitimate.
You have a team that's very well could win 100 games this year, is one of the favorites to win the World Series or at least get there. You have a team that's could win this year or next year. He in that 3 to 5 year window that Cohen wanted, and we could be looking back over opening day in 2023 with the Mets having 7 guys in the top 100.
I mean, as I have it right now, I have it up in front of me. They're top 10. I go Alvarez, Beatty, Parada, Ramirez, which is a consensus top 4 right now.
Absolutely, and the top 50 by next year.
Yeah. I mean, those guys, the top 3 are already top 50.
Right.
Ramirez is sitting in the 60 to 80 range on most lists.
Mm-hmm.
I have Jet Williams at 5, Mauricio 6, Allen 7, Vientos 8, Ziegler 9, Tidwell 10. I want to just wait to see how they start off with Tidwell. Injury at Tennessee, was basically rehabbing his way back down the stretch.
Mm-hmm.
You just gotta wait and see what happens with Matt Allen.
He's such a question mark. We know the ceiling he has and potential he has, but he's thrown 2 innings since he got drafted?
19 innings in his pro career. He got drafted the same class as Beatty, and Beatty's about to make his debut. Or Beatty's on the doorstep of his debut.
Right.
But just looking at other guys he drafted, I have in my top 30. Nick Morabito, I have at 19. Jonah Tong, 8th round pick, I believe, at 30. I believe that's it. No, they are starting to fill out that middle part of the system.
Right.
Where you have guys where you're like, if he puts it together, he's a top 10 prospect in the system.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Dominic Campbell had a rough time. It's almost, or not an easy time his junior year at Dallas Baptist. And he followed up Jacob deGrom's first rehab start with 6 beautiful innings.
That's right.
And was immediately promoted to Brooklyn. Teams are calling on him at the deadline, I reported. I mean, you have these guys that are playing up, figuring stuff out. The lab in St. Lucie is working. You're seeing results. And I think the Mets they killed this year's draft. I mean,
it was incredible.
Brandon Sproat not signing is a bit of a blemish.
Mm-hmm.
But you get the comp pick for that next year between, I think, the 3rd and the 4th round. It's the second time he hasn't signed. Some guys.
He's just holding out for more money. Does he want to be an earlier pick? What's his deal?
he's not going to be an earlier pick next year, fourth year senior.
Yeah.
But some guys, they just stay true to that commitment. Some guys, if you're a guy that might if you think you're going to flame out in double or triple A, go win a College World Series. Go
for it.
Go, shoot for that pig pile at Omaha.
Yeah.
Some guys stay true to that. Some guys absolutely stay true to that. So we'll see. I think it's easily a top 10 farm system. I think there is more upside in the Mets farm system than there's been in a long, long time. The floor is low on a lot of guys. I think if Alex Ramirez, I think the floor on him is incredibly low.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like flaming out in Binghamton low.
Okay.
But the ceiling is perennial all-star 5-tool outfielder.
Yeah, you've been screaming 2020 guy since before the season started.
Nah, I've been pretty high. I mean, he's got to start bringing the hands in on a swing. It's very long.
Mm-hmm.
But double A is the litmus test.
Yeah.
Triple A, you got the quad A guys holding on to their careers, yada, yada, yada.
Guys on minor league deals.
Right. You got fucking Mike Montgomery throwing up a 6 ERA because he wants to keep pitching. You got a lot of stuff like that. But double A is the test.
Mm-hmm.
Alvarez has passed it. Beatty's passed it. Vientos passed it. And you're going to see, I think maybe starting probably May or June of next year. I think it's probably when we see Ramirez there.
Mm.
And just thinking realistically, I think Parada probably starts the year at Brooklyn next year. He's going to get some run in St. Lucie. These seasons this year, minor league seasons used to end of August, but they're now running through September. So you're going to get probably a month and a half of Parada and then the playoffs because St. Lucie clinched the first half divisional title, so they have a spot in the playoffs. You'll get through that. Tidwell, my educated guess would be St. Lucie. I think if we get a Matt Allen rehab appearance this year, it's in St. Lucie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm heading down there this weekend. That'll be for hopefully for Parada's debut, possibly Tidwell as well. They just moved some guys up. William Lugo, Christian Scott, Jeffrey Colon. St. Lucie's always the active one. But it's probably the best this farm system has looked since the 2013, 2014, since they started that run of calling up Harvey, then Wheeler, then Syndergaard, then Matz, then deGrom, Montero.
Right.
Darno, Conforto, really ending with Nimmo in 2016.
Yeah.
You had that run starting with Harvey, and I think that was 2012, through Nimmo in 2016, where you're just calling up top guy after top. Wilmer Flores,
right,
calling up top prospect after top prospect after top prospect. And I think really starting with when Mark Vientos comes up, you're going to have that type of a run.
Yeah, and I still think Vientos would be up probably sometime this year.
I'm not sure. I think you would probably need Escobar or Ruff going down for the year.
Mm.
I think that's what you would. Yeah. I think the plan is clear. They're going to let him mash and just demolish AAA pitching. Get the fight. He's still 23.
Right. He's so young. He's still a kid.
Yeah, you can let him mash, let him demolish AAA pitching, and just go from there. That's going
to be it for the episode. Unfortunately, Jack's power went out, so his Wi-Fi was gonzo. So that's going to be the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. As always, it's your host, Antonio Slater. Jack Ramsey was here, but again, power went out. So make sure to follow on Twitter at the Mid City. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube, Mid City Pod. Follow us, Antonio Slater and Jack W. Ramsey. Let's go Mets. Just keep winning, keep taking care of business, win the games, win the series, and we'll see what happens in October. Once again, hope you guys enjoyed the episode. And as always, LFGM.